Chakushin Ari, known as One Missed Call to English-speaking audiences, is a little hard to summarize. Here is the basic synopsis facing the characters. A. Someone gets a voice message on their cell phone from themselves dated at a future time. B. When that future time arrives, events play out as in the recording they received. C. The person dies, and a red candy rolls out of their mouth. D. Their dead hand dials the number of someone in their phone's contact list, and that person receives a message from themselves at a future time. E. Repeat. That is such an amazing premise. We have a ticking clock, we have premonitions, we have people aware of their fates and impending deaths, struggling to uncover the truth behind this curse and how to beat it. We have a viral chain letter way of passing on the doom. There is even a televised type of exorcism, like a pseudo-documentary. Yet 2003's Chakushin Ari is so much more than this. Directed by the extremely prolific Takashi Miike, this film can be one of three things, depending on the viewer's attitude. It is, at the same time, A. An extremely effective horror film. B. A love letter to J-horror and horror tropes. C. A parody of the J-horror genre. The more you know about J-horror, the more you will get out of watching this film. Takashi Miike was born in 1960. His first film was Lady Hunter, Prelude to Murder, released in 1991, but the second film he directed, Eye Catch Junction, was actually released before that in the same year. Both were direct-to-video. As of the making of this video, his career has spanned over 33 years, and he has directed well over 100 films, at times 4 to 6 in the same year. Best known for his shocking works like Audition and Koroshiya Ichi, Miike is bound by no genres. He has made children's fantasy fare like Yokai Daisenso, dramatic remakes like Harakiri Death of a Samurai, and genre love letters like Zebra Man. That Chakushin Ari can serve equally as a love letter to J-horror, a parody of J-horror tropes, and a straight horror film should come as no surprise. That is the fluidity of Takashi Miike's style. He can tell any kind of story at any budget point with the same level of authenticity and respect for the related genre. Miike is by no means just a purveyor of shock. His films often have a depth of nuance that goes unnoticed, making most of them well worth multiple viewings. Following the premise, people die after receiving messages from themselves in the future. Authorities believe the deaths to be suicide and look no further. Word spreads fast regardless, and people start to fear their cell phones, as the next person to be cursed will be someone in the deceased's contact list. Our protagonist, Yumi, invites her friend Natsumi to stay with her. They were friends of the most recent victim. Despite turning off their cell phones, Natsumi's still rings, and she receives a photo from herself in the future, standing in an unknown location with a shadowy figure lurking in the background. As the future time indicated by the message draws nearer, people ask Natsumi to delete them from her contact list to avoid being next to be cursed. Mass media begins covering the story more intensely, including an exploitative TV producer who wants to set up a televised countdown and show what happens. The time of the live broadcast arrives. Natsumi is interviewed, and assorted psychics and spiritualists are brought on to offer their opinions and protection. Finally, as the deadline, pun intended, draws near, an exorcist begins purification rituals. Natsumi is terrified but hopeful. Things don't go well. This set piece is outstanding in its execution, pun intended again, and is must-see if you love J-horror. It is right up there with Sadako coming out of the television. Yumi's phone is next to ring. What can she do to avoid her fate? Is there any way out? In an effort to save Natsumi, Yumi had already been working with a detective named Yamashita. Yamashita's sister was an earlier victim of the curse, and he has uncovered some information related to the deaths. During their investigation, they learn of a girl named Mimiko. Mimiko died from an asthma attack, and after that, her mother went missing. Mimiko's younger sister, Nanako, lives in an orphanage and never speaks. A visit to an abandoned hospital, encounters with some onryo, a type of Japanese ghost any J-horror fan will be familiar with, and a race against the clock to end the chain of phone calls carries us through a parade of inventiveness and classic tropes. Chakushin Ari hits a lot of beats familiar to anyone versed in J-horror, yet it is not derivative. It does not lead you where you think it will. While paying homage to J-horror and all of its tropes, it still manages to have an originality that is refreshing. As I mentioned, you can watch it 3 different ways. You can enjoy it as a very effective horror movie. You can view it as a love letter to J-horror itself. And if so inclined, you can open up your weirder side and look at it as a parody of various J-horror tropes. In any case, I highly recommend watching it. The story is surprisingly complex, so a second viewing may be in order. Just pay attention to what is out of focus in the background. Thank you for watching. See you next time.